Listen to everything. Listen to the old music. Listen to the old DJs, the old production companies back from the 80s and from the 70s. Listen to that and shape your mind on how the progression of music from then to now. Listen to the Euro disco music. Listen to a lot of disco. Listen to all of that to bring you to where you are right now, because it'll make you, I think, a more well-rounded DJ musically.
Today is Friday, February 7th, 2025. Who are we speaking with?
We're speaking with Brooklyn's own Kim Lightfoot.
I love that. Let's get into it. Tell us a story about DJing at Rayhan's Loft parties.
Wow. That was in the late 80s. I would say 87, 88. I met Ray Hans. Ray Hans was he was selling hats. He was a hat maker. He was downtown Brooklyn in front of Macy's. He was at West 4th Street in front of the basketball courts. He was everywhere in the village. Everywhere I went I ran into Ray Hans. And we became friends. And we actually hung out a couple of times at a couple of parties. We went out, met up at night. We met up in the village. I was going everywhere back then. I was just trying to find different type of parties that I like, punk rock parties. It wasn't house music back then. It was just basically a lot of dance music parties, a lot of new wave. It was a new wave era. And Ray was very knowledgeable about the club scene in the East Village and in Brooklyn. I remember when he first got the Loft. The Loft was it was on top of the Shasta Cola Company. That garage was the Shasta Cola Company, but on top of it, he rented a loft from them. And he and I went in there, we cleaned it out, scraped the asbestos off the ceiling. If I would have known about asbestos like I do now, I would have never done nothing like that. But anyway, we scraped the ceilings, painted the place. He wanted to do a party, put a sound system in there. We did a party. And that's how I started doing parties with Ray Hans. Ray Hans really kind of like, I wasn't really known in Brooklyn like I was at that time, but doing those parties down there, I can't even tell you how many people that I met that are friends and fans to this day from coming to that party in Brooklyn. That party was like, that was Brooklyn legend, underground. And Trevor Fox was doing parties there. He was doing the sound with us. DJ Debonair was doing the sound for us. Then Herb Martin came along. Had just met Herb. That's how me and Herb became basically one of my best friends to this day. Herb was in there. Herb and I started doing parties down there, and it was just magic. I was so grateful to Ray for bringing us in and basically making me, famous. That was it.
Tell us a story. Tell us what is, and tell us a story about Afterlife.
Afterlife is a collective of brothers from Newark, New Jersey, Kaleem Shabazz and Rama Knighton. They were doing Afterlife before I joined up with them. They were doing Afterlife in Manhattan. I didn't know them. I think they came to a couple of the Ray Hans parties. They saw me DJing there. I'm not saying that they were looking to add anybody to their collective, but they reached out to me to come do a guest or just to come vibe with them. And I did. And when I first got there, 622 Broadway, as soon as I walked in the building, I felt a kindred connection with them. We were playing like-minded music. They were playing classics, dance music at that time, house music. And It was a match. It was a match. We vibed right away. Kaleem and I became very, very good friends to this day. One of my best friends, and I am grateful. That's another party. I listen. My journey. I can't even tell you how blessed I am for a lot of the people that I've met on my path from moving from Brownsville to Park Slope in 1986. Once I came into Park Slope, everything I did, all the people that I met on my path brought me to where I am right now. I was doing various parties in New York, Brooklyn. Um, I met a bunch of people that kind of elevated my popularity. I used to hang out at a barbershop called Knapp's. Knapp's was on the corner of Flatbush and Bergen, no, Flatbush and I think that's called Flatbush and Dean, on the corner of Flatbush and Dean. I lived around the corner on Bergen and Flatbush, right across from Pinchecks. I used to walk around the corner to get my hair cut. There's a brother in there, Dex Davis. My man Fritz Geniton used to work there. My boy Brian Sullivan used to come by there, get his hair cut. Les Alexander used to be in there. Everybody was like DJs, club heads. I used to bring my mixtapes there, and those dudes told everyone that came in that shop who I was. Yo, this is Kim Light. Like they, so that's how the thing started rolling. Then I met some brothers. I did a party for Tony Toon. Probably in like 88. And it was a backyard party at his mother's house. And when I met a bunch of brothers that was starting up a party collective called a Boussoir. So that was Moitu, Sheo, Sean Cotman, Samir Hall, all of those guys. I met them. They brought me into doing parties with them. And that's how I met Tim Richardson, Camacho. I had already knew Tim Richardson. I met DJ Camacho and then Nick Jones. So Nick Jones and Tim Richardson, I met. I used to go record shopping and I used to always run into them. Nick Jones was doing high-tech music. So I used to run into Timmy Richardson down there. And that's how they, like I said, they asked me to be a part of their collective. We was doing different loft parties all over Manhattan. All over Manhattan, we was doing those parties. And that led me to doing, I was also doing the Ray Hand stuff. And then that led me to the Afterlife. So all of those steps, all those people I met brought me to the Afterlife. And then when I got down to Afterlife, I met up with Don Welch, Barbara Tucker. They brought me down to Underground Network. That's how I met Louis. Camacho was the one that was responsible for me to playing downstairs at the Funk Hut. He was the one, that was his gig. He was doing it weekly, but he was traveling a lot. I covered for him one weekend, and I don't know, I'm not going to say he didn't want to do Wednesdays down there anymore. He's not here anymore, so I can't speak on what was his mind, but for whatever reason, they decided not to use me every week, but to use me one Wednesday a month. So they had a rotation of 4 different DJs. I was always on the rotation, but they had 3 other different DJs. So every Wednesday night, it was a different DJ downstairs. But when I was down there, packed. Louis upstairs. It was crazy. That was one of the best times of my life. The Afterlife and the Underground Network was awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I became really good friends with Louis Vega. I met Frankie Feliciano down there. I met Frankie Knuckles. I met all of my heroes that came through there. I met them courtesy because I was at Underground Network and I was playing downstairs. Louis had me play upstairs a couple of times. He went away, which was monumental to me because he didn't have a lot of guest DJs down there. And that's, then I know I'm kind of all over the place. Then I met a friend of mine, Jay Byron, who's not here anymore. Rest in peace. He and I used to hang out. He used to actually come down to Afterlife. Really, really cool Caucasian brother. That's my man. And Jay told me about this guy from London that was doing that was coming into New York to do parties at Club Vinyl. At this time, Vinyl was the shelter closed. Vinyl was closed. It wasn't called Vinyl, I don't think, at that point. Or was it? Yeah, it was still called Vinyl. It was closed. So I went to a meeting, all the bar staff and the bus boys and the door people, everybody was there. I got there. That was John Davis. I met John Davis. And me and John Davis became friends to this day. And we did a party down there called the Midas Club. Before Body and Soul or any of that, it was called the Midas Club. And the Midas Club was me and Francois. He had me and Francois play at this party. And we actually started doing that party Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoon. And that was my idea. It was my idea. It was my idea. I'm not saying he didn't have the idea, but when I brought that to his attention to do a Sunday party was because I also at that time was doing Behind Club Doors. And I was doing Behind Club Doors with Desiree and Dirty Kurt over in that's Fort Greene. That's kind of on the edge of Fort Greene in Williamsburg, over on Classen, right near the BQE. So we were doing Behind Club Doors, and I was doing Sunday afternoons after the shelter there. So when the shelter would close, I would start there at 5 o'clock, and I would play 5 to midnight. My idea. And at first, it didn't really, I didn't know the shelter people like how I know them now. I was kind of new. So a couple of the heads that I knew that was there, I would invite them back over. They knew about Behind Club Doors, but they were going there Friday and Saturday night. It was me, Maskey, Tyrone Francis, Little Ray playing, and Victor Rosado. We was playing the Behind Club Door. So all of this stuff was happening to me consecutively. Boom, 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 boom. I was just bouncing around doing all these parties and living in Brooklyn. My daughter was born, and life was, life was it's great now, but it was great. Life was a fun ride.
What happened to the DJ residency?
Where? What do you mean in general?
In general, yeah.
That's a good question. I think that promoters at some point the club scene probably had to shift. That I don't know if it was a lot of people weren't going out as much. I'm not sure what it was, but I know the promoters started doing these 3 or 4 DJs that set. Like when I played at Ray Hands, when I was doing that Boussoir, it wasn't one DJ. It was me, Tim Richardson, and Nick Jones. So we had to share the night, but we were doing like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours back then. So it was always, it was kind of, we was doing that. It's just not really nothing new. It's just now more, you don't have a residency. Even when I was doing Afterlife, the great thing about doing Afterlife was there were certain nights that Kaleem and I played together, but we alternated. I would play one Friday, and he would play the next Friday. Basil would play the next Friday. It was like that. That's what we were doing at Afterlife. It wasn't just me playing every week. I was there every week, but every week I didn't spend down there. So we all was getting, everybody wanted each other to shine. It wasn't like I couldn't be greedy. I was blessed. I had it flowing, so I couldn't want more. I didn't have time. I had a job and I had a family. So DJing was it was like dessert. It was beautiful. It wasn't my main focus of income. It was just it wasn't even a hobby. It was my life. But I just had to make time for it, and I was just real fortunate for people to reach out to me and want me to be a part of that stuff. So, the blessing was fantastic. As for the residency, I would love to have a residency somewhere. But unless you create your own party, put out your own money for your own party, how it is now, that's how you have a residency. That's what I see. That's the way. If you want to have a residency right now, unless you someone want to spend a lot of money and put you up in a club and take a chance on you bringing hundreds of people in there every week to make money, they'll do that. But it's the scene is not like that anymore. And I think that a lot of the promoters and the party planners, they're comfortable with having multiple DJs. I don't know whether it's easier on the money or they're trying to give the crowd more. I'm sure it's good intentions, but I miss the old days of, even if I wasn't the only DJ playing all night long, I wish I was at least playing every week, once a month, every other week. I also skipped over, I had a residency at Caviar. By me being down at Underground Network, even though Keith Porter, my good friend Keith Porter, Porterhouse Music, even though he was from Brownsville and I was from Brownsville, I didn't know him when we was living in Brownsville. I didn't meet Keith until I started going out to parties, and I ran into him down the Underground Network, and he knew another friend of mine, and we all was talking, and he kept saying to me, "Yo, man, I'm getting ready to have this. I'm ready to open up this club. I want you to come play." I can't even tell you how many people have said that to me in my life, and it didn't come to fruition. I didn't. It's not like I didn't believe them, but I was like, "Oh, okay, all right. Call me. Let me, what's up." And a couple of months later, he called me to come by this space on Washington and Flushing Avenue in Fort Greene, this Loft. And when I went in there, they were renovating, putting the floor down. Um, I don't know what the vision was, but it was a club. As soon as I saw it, I lived in Fort Greene, so it was like walking distance from my house. I was like, "Yo, this would be fantastic. Oh, I want to play it." So we created a party on Friday night. It was called Journey, and it was me, Keith Porter, and James Vincent upstairs. And I think it lasted about 2 years. 2 year run, and it was beautiful. It could have been as big as vinyl if the right owners, if they would have let Keith and the crew run it like how we was going to run it. Only for Friday night. My night was Friday night. The other nights they had R&B, reggae. They had that crowd in there. So our crowd, the owners, they didn't understand that. They didn't understand how we dressed. So when I had them come, my people come down, they had an issue at the door. It was always an issue at the door. The door killed that party because that party was big, and getting into the party after a while was a really big issue with a lot of my people. And I kept having meetings and voicing my opinion, and it really was going nowhere. And then it ended.
Talk about the dress. How are people dressed, and was there a dress code? What was the issue?
They had a dress code. But we were trying. The problem was Friday nights we were upstairs. They were still having the R&B parties downstairs. So at the door, they're telling the R&B people you got to dress a certain way. Then we come up, we got on sweatpants and sneakers and knapsack, and we're not dressed at all. We're not dressed for that type of scene. So you got to see the front door look crazy. So now the bouncers, they are told to let these people in and not let those people in. So I got 50 people outside trying to get in to pay. These are paying customers. These are not 50 people on my guest list. 50 people out there trying to get in, cars pulling up, taxis pulling up, people walking from the train station, and they won't let them in. And the next morning I come home and my answer machine at home, of course we didn't have cell phones back then. So my answer machine when I got home was filled with people. Yo, I'm outside. I can't get in the club. What happened? Yo, I came all the way down. And it was like that for a while. People did get in, but everybody didn't get in. And that became an issue. So yes, Caviar has to be mentioned. It's the honorable mention on my journey that really the Brooklyn love that I got from Ray Hans, playing at Ray Hans Loft and playing at Caviar, um, is, it's priceless.
Which leads me to my next question. Is there a Brooklyn house sound?
A Brooklyn house sound. um, Yeah. I mean, wow, that's a hard question there, bro. How do I answer that? A Brooklyn house sound. It's hard for me to answer that. I could tell you what my sound is coming from Brooklyn. My sound is everything soulful, everything funky, everything black, Latino, rock, jazz, reggae, um, new wave, anything. So my goal is most places that I play at, or mostly all the time when I spend, is to try to do something that's going to either educate the crowd, um, make them dance. And I honestly have to say, I know some DJs don't like to say this. If I don't like the music, I'm not playing. So I have to like what I'm playing. When I'm playing for you, I'm betting on you're gonna like this. I already know when I planned it, when I put it in the crate, when I put it on my hard drive, whatever it is, I know I'm gonna test this record out because I think that you're gonna like it. My job is to make you like that record. So my sound, the Brooklyn sound, is just that. It's not one word. It's not one genre. It's mm, it's it's Willie Wall, John Robinson sound. It's Sable Jeffries type sound. It's Barbara Tucker type sound. Ozone Layer, Strafe, Colonel Abrams, Boy Jarvis. That's my sound. That's what I grew up on. When I grew up, when I had that, when I was in high school, when I heard that music stayed with me my whole life. So that's how I play. I just play everything else, but I still always come back to that sound. That sound is like my foundation. So I'm hoping most of the Brooklyn cats that are DJing do the same thing. Some Brooklyn cats are more R&B, some of them are more Afro house, and that's cool. But my sound is is a little of all of that.
Did you also play at Kilimanjaro's as well?
No,
Okay,
that was Brother Basil and Mansky
gotcha,
that I
gotcha.
knew. They were, you know, I
Because
think
I knew you played with them. I wasn't sure if you played with them at Kilimanjaro's, but you played with
yeah,
them
I
elsewhere,
played with
not.
yeah. Mansky was with me. I was with Mansky. We was all together at behind club doors. Me, Mansky, Victor, Tyrone. It was that collective was crazy. It was beautiful. Me and Basil. Um, we did a couple of loft parties with DJ MKL on. We had two famous Brooklyn New Year Eve's party at MKL's loft back in the days. Me and Basil and MKO. That to this day, every time we talk about it, we can't even believe how much money we made and how many people was in that loft. Every year, like
How
New
much
Year's
money did you
Eve.
guys make? How much money did you guys make?
How much money did we make that night? I think I came home with about $800. So $800 in 1994, 95 was like about $1,500. Now it was a lot of money to nobody. I wasn't making $800 in Brooklyn at a loft. It wasn't like I was in a big club or anything like that. But we made so much money at the door, that all of us came home with that amount of money. So and it was three of us, and then they had staff, so everybody got paid. But that was amazing with my man brother Basil. Basil and MKO was also playing down at Nell's. So MKO was playing downstairs at Nell's, and he gave me his gig. So I was doing Sunday. I was doing Saturday night. I was doing Friday nights at Afterlife at one point, Saturday night at Vinyl, and I was doing Sundays at Nell's and Sound Factory Bar on Wednesday nights for about 2 years straight. That was my life every week, not monthly. Well, Sound Factory Bar was monthly, but those three parties every week. That's what I was doing. I was doing downstairs at Nell's. When I played downstairs at Nell's, I didn't play straight house music. That's what I'm saying. I had to play a little bit of everything because Nell's was an eclectic crowd. It wasn't just house heads. It wasn't like how it was at the Shelter or anywhere like that. It was just music lovers that wanted to hear some dance music. So I had to play a little bit of everything. I had to play some Prince. I had to play some R&B, and then put a couple of club classics on. So that just all those gigs like that made me grow as a DJ.
What happened to New York?
Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, man, Giuliani screwed up the nightlife, you know, with the new strict laws and the I will say this. We did rent a bunch of illegal lofts with no sprinkler system. Like it was dangerous. I understand, but at the same time, when he cleaned up the nightlife in New York, he changed the whole aesthetic of what New York was about. New York was living like on the weekend. When I used to go out on the weekend, I didn't go to one party. I went to multiple parties in one night. We would stop here first. We would have it planned out where we was going first and where we was going to end up at. There were certain parties that by the time I get to that party, that was the late night party. So we would go to the early parties, the middle party, then the late night party where we would stay till the next day. That's how New York used to be. It's not like that anymore. Like now, you got to pay a toll to go through Manhattan. So if you're trying to do a party in Manhattan now, it's a little more difficult, in my opinion, than if you was trying to do it in Brooklyn. Talking about for the people to come and pay their money and spend money traveling to get to a party. Sometimes they got to come out their pocket a little bit more now because it's a toll, which sucks. But that's the way of the world. But Giuliani to me effed up the nightlife in New York with that. The strict, it was the clubs were it was just a lot. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't have to have this, you have to have that type of permit, which is like I said, it's probably a good thing, but it never recovered to me like how it was back then.
Tell us about the Georgia scene. What are the
The
spots in
Georgia scene,
Yeah,
the
what are the
Georgia
spots?
scene. First, I came out here when we first moved out here. I moved out here because of for family, for my daughter. My daughter was coming out here. You know, I was retired and I wasn't really doing too much at home other than nothing.
What was
I
it?
kind of
If
I
I
was
if you
living in South Jersey. I was living in South Jersey.
Okay, okay.
My daughter was wanted to come move out here on her own, with 3 kids, and I didn't like the idea of her doing it by herself because Anyway, I don't know what made. I never thought I was going to move to Georgia. That wasn't like on the radar. I didn't have that vision. I actually did come out here to visit 2 years before we moved out here. Tyrone Francis was having a birthday party, and I came out to hang out with him for his birthday for a weekend. And when I came out, I did drive around a little bit, but I didn't really look too much. But when I did come out there, out here, I saw a little of the scene, and I was like, "This is kind of different." The great thing about it, I didn't know anybody. So when you go out and you don't know nobody, I absorb everything around me more because I'm more focused without talking to anybody, a lot of picture taking and a lot of. So I came out and I just, observed the DJs, the music, everything, sound system, and especially the dancers. Um, the Atlanta house scene surprised. It didn't surprise me. I already knew who was here before I came here. I didn't know Salah, Ananse, I didn't know DJ Kemet, I didn't know Kai, I didn't know that whole collective. I did not know them, but I knew of them production wise. I had all of their music already. So when I came, as soon as I got here, when I at the Tyrone that weekend, I went back home and I came back out again for a trip with my wife and my daughter when we were looking to come out here. We did a little trip. And then there was another time I came and there was some more parties. I think Ron Trent was playing out here. And that night I met Salah and Kemet. And once I met Salah and Kemet, I don't remember how I met Kai Alce, but as soon as we met, a couple of months later, I was getting phone calls from them to, do events with them. The first person that I have to give big up and props to for the first person to have me play at a party 3 months after I moved out here was Yusef Terry. Yusef Terry was doing a party. It was his birthday party on Halloween, and he reached out to me. And he has a party now called Soul Variations at the gallery at the 992 Gallery once a month. He's actually having a party tomorrow night. And he was the first person to put me on in Georgia. So after that, then I started doing stuff with Kai and Salah and Kemet, and we became friends. I do the Atlanta Weekender with them once a year. A couple of things during the year. I do collaboration with them, and those dudes have what they built. They didn't build it, but what they are doing right now, I would say Ron Pullman, from what I know, is like the godfather of the house music DJs in Atlanta. The parties, he was doing parties probably early 80s, late 70s out here. And he's still doing parties now. The brother is dope. All these DJs out here, Kai, Salah, and Kim, they have the scene vibrant, young music. It's refreshing to see. Also, Stan Zephyr's out here. Keith Porter is out here now. Tyrone Francis is out here now. I'm missing somebody. A bunch of people are out here doing different parties and keeping the scene alive. And for me to be a part of it is another blessing. It's a perfect fit. I love the scene out here. It's just like the scene that we have in New York, New Jersey, and Brooklyn. They're the same type of people. It's just different people, and it's refreshing to see how many younger people. I'm always feeling like I'm the oldest guy in the room when I come in. When I go out, the younger people that are into house music out here is admirable. So I credit those guys. Kai is from Detroit. Those dudes, they are worldly when it comes to music and the different parties and the different type of people that come to their party. And it's refreshing, and they're doing a great job. Big up to the House in the Park Collective. Those are my dudes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Kai Fikensha from Germany says, "What's up?" You want to give you a shout out?
Who is that?
Kai from Germany, Kai Fikensha.
That's my man.
Yeah.
What's up, Kai?
Yeah. So he actually has a couple of questions he wanted me to ask you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was like, ask him, what is EDM? Is it a thing or total garbage?
EDM?
Yes.
I have no idea. I'm gonna take the fifth on that. I can't say I don't know if it's total. I know of it. I don't listen to it. I'm not an expert on to even offer my opinion on what it is, whether it's trash or not. Respectfully, I'm gonna leave that question alone.
That's all right. He has like 20 more. The next question is
20 more. Okay.
Yeah, it was like, ask him, does he still play vinyl? Why or why not?
The answer to that question is yes. I still play vinyl because there's a vibrant, it's not nothing new. It's always been a vibrant vinyl DJing scene out here. I wasn't a part of it for quite a few years. I wasn't buying any vinyl. I have vinyl, but I wasn't getting gigs, anything like that until last year. There was a party in Brooklyn called Joy and Loft party that I was invited to play at. Most of the patrons in there were diehard members of the original Loft. So the party basically was designed just like the Loft. It was designed after the concept, the sound system, the clips on speakers, the hi-fi, the music was a certain nice low level. You could hear each other talk. They had the food, the drinks. You came in, and they invited. I went there a couple of times on an invitation to check the party out. And the first time I went to the Joy party, I came with Kaleem Shabazz. Actually brought me to that party. The first time I went to that party that year, that was the best party I've been to the whole year. I kid you not. That's how dope that party was. And it wasn't like it was 100, like 1,000 people. It was about maybe 100, maybe 80 people. Membership only. You could sponsor and bring a friend or two. So it was like a family. Different races of people. No mixing. No mixing, any record. You can play whatever you want to play. And it was fantastic. Long story short, they sent me an email. They invited me to come play down there last summer. I think it was in August. And I was a little nervous because I haven't played vinyl in so long. So me preparing for that party, it was like a 2-week, me going through every record, cleaning all my records, make sure there's no popping and what I'm going to play, what do I think that they want. I'm also thinking about the time I went there, the type of music they was playing, and Douglas Sherman was playing there. My friend DJ Yuji was playing there, and Takaya was playing there. They played David Mancuso loft style music. So my idea of what I want, if I was to fantasize on, if I played at the loft, I'm going to play this. That's what I did. So I looked for everything and I just put it in 2 flight cases, got on the plane. That was my first vinyl gig, probably in about 10 years before that. It took about, that was the first time I played vinyl at a party in about 10 years. After that, DJ Salah Nansei out here, he curated, him and DJ Kim had curated this party at this spot in Atlanta called the Echo Room. High-end sound system, turntables, the new Pioneer mixer, the Euphoria mixer. I've played down there like 3 times already. And they have parties there 2 times a week. Different DJs, they do hip hop parties, all types of parties, piano parties, house music parties, classics. They do everything there. So when you go down there, it's bars, couches, seating areas, like a living room. You know, little small dance area, like a carpet and things like that, and little old funky house party. I honestly like smaller parties, not more than the big clubs, but I'm more into intimate settings, like a house, like when Joe Clazel was doing Cosmic Arts when he first they moved into a bigger space now as a record store, but when he had the smaller one, the intimacy of the wood floor, sound system, the records, and it was just, I like that type of vibe. That vibe out here in Atlanta is vibrant. It's beautiful. That's the type of parties I like doing. You know, yes, I would love to have a couple of 100 people dancing to me, but I wouldn't mind doing that and doing the smaller parties also.
I want to do 2 more questions and then I want to do a part 2 because I feel like each of the topics you brought up today, we could just do like 20 minutes just going in on after.
I know you asked me questions and I ventured off into some.
No, I love it. I love it. It's so good. I feel like we could do like 6 hours and we'll do that over time, but I want to do 2 more questions and then we'll just wrap and then we'll do a part 2. One question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy. I want my legacy to be that I was one of the great DJs that came out of Brooklyn. One of the great DJs that came out of Brooklyn to be mentioned among guys like the late DJ Scooter Love from Brownsville. That's my man. From Brooklyn DJs, my twin brother Corey Lightfoot, who I learned basically how to DJ from. You know, he was the DJ. He was DJ before I was DJ. I was actually an MC. I don't want to tell the story right now, but I was on the mic back then, and he was a DJ. So I learned everything I know about mixing and pitching and keeping it on beat and all of that. I learned from Corey. I just want my legacy to be mentioned amongst, you know, the greats, Grandmaster Flowers. I grew up listening to WBLS. I always wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a radio DJ before I wanted to be. I didn't know about clubs back then because I wasn't going to the clubs. I wanted to be on the radio like Frankie Crocker. That was Frankie Crocker and Al Jackson was what I listened to religiously. Also with the mix shows, WKTU, Kiss FM with Tony Humphreys, Timmy and on BLS, Bobby Condas and Naeem Johnson and Ted Courier, Merlin Bob. That was, I can't even tell you how much that shaped how I play. Like it's just, my whole style is not just me, it's a little bit of everybody. And if I could be mentioned in that vein, that'd be great. It'd be great for my grandkids one day to say, to know what I've been doing, or to see my name written in an article or something like that, or to see your interview. You know, that'd be my legacy.
No, thank you for that. And then the last question for this portion of the interview is, what advice do you have for the next generation?
Listen to all types of music, because that's what I did. I think I can't say what it sounds like everybody's doing. They don't listen to this and that. I don't know what they're listening to. Sometimes the DJs can be listening to everything, but when they go play, they play the same. They play just one genre and they stick with that, and that's their signature. I think that when you stretch out and expand your mind to different types of music, you will hear house music and jazz. You will hear house music and classical music. You can hear house music and any type of music. When I say house music, I'm just talking about dance music. I call everything house music. It's not Chicago house. It's just the term, I use the term house broadly. So if you listen to everything, I can listen to all types of music and say, I could play that Friday when I play out at a house music party. Like I'll have that confidence because I can hear something in that. So as a young person, listen to everything, listen to the old music, listen to the old DJs, the old production companies back from the 80s and from the 70s, listen to that and shape your mind on how the progression of music from then to now. Listen to the Euro disco music, listen to a lot of disco, listen to all of that to bring you to where you are right now, because it'll make you, I think, a more well-rounded DJ musically, instead of getting stuck in one genre.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, brother. It was great to connect after so many years of deep house space, like 20, 25 years ago.
Appreciate you too, brother. Thank you.
All right, peace. All right, take care.